Most small business owners spend years undercharging their services and blame it on a lack of information. Not enough data, not enough competitors to compare with, and not enough certainty about what the market will accept. But information was never the real problem. The real problem is the internal ceiling that most owners don't even know they're hitting every time they try to say a number out loud. Someone in the small business I've read has shared their experience with this with more honesty than I've seen other people do, and I want to share what I'd do if I were them. They posted, a few years ago, I started a mobile telescope-aided stargazing tour business where I bring my telescope to people's events and show them the wonders of the night sky. I have still yet to figure out what I should be charging for my events. They laid out exactly what was tripping them up. I genuinely don't know what my service is worth, and there aren't many competitors to base my pricing off of. I don't want to sound greedy, and I want my price to be fair, but I don't want to undersell myself. I want my pricing to be affordable to most people, but again, don't want to undersell myself. Notice that last line. They said it twice, two different sentences with the same fear, almost repeated word for word. They shared their actual numbers too. Their first corporate event, over 100 people, and they only charged $200. In their own words, I know this was definitely too cheap, but it was my first event and I didn't know what to say. They're now charging $600 to $800 for similar events. And they still added, which I feel like might still be too cheap. Despite the lack of engagement, I think this is one of the most honest pricing posts I've ever come across. The way this owner is framing this problem is as a research problem. Not enough comparable businesses to benchmark against, not enough data on what stargazing tours should cost, and not enough confidence in the math, because the math doesn't really exist for this kind of niche service yet. So the solution they're implicitly looking for is more information. Find comparable businesses, find an industry standard, find a number that everyone agrees is fair. But look closer at what they actually wrote. I don't want to sound greedy. I don't want to undersell myself. And again, I don't want to undersell myself. That's not someone missing data. That's someone wrestling with whether they're allowed to charge what they're worth. And no amount of market research can fix that. You can hand this owner a perfect competitor analysis and they'll still hesitate at that number. Because the hesitation was never about information in the first place. There's a concept in psychology called deservingness, the internal sense of what we believe we're entitled to receive in exchange for what we give. And the research is clear on something most pricing advice completely ignores. The number we're willing to ask for is almost always kept by what we feel we deserve, and not by what we're objectively worth. This owner charged $200 for the first corporate event, not because $200 reflected the value of the experience, because in that moment, with no script for what to say, the safest number was the one that no one could push back on. That's the ceiling of deservingness operating in real time. Not a math problem, but a self-worth problem wearing a business decision in disguise. This owner had already run these tours for 6 years. They describe receiving nothing but positive feedback for every single tour, and they genuinely love what they do. The value they create isn't in question. They say so themselves. The number they put on an invoice and the value they actually deliver are two completely different things. And the gap between them isn't a market research gap. It's a story they're telling themselves about what they're allowed to ask for. So how does an owner in this situation move forward? We can think of the decision sequence in 3 steps. Step 1, separate the market question from the identity question. What does a mobile astronomy experience for a 100+ person event actually command in the market? That's researchable. You can look at comparable forms of entertainment, wine tastings, live music, and novelty entertainment for corporate events, and find a real range. But do you believe you're the kind of person who can charge that number and hold it? That's not researchable, that's internal. And this sort of post shows that question is still completely unanswered even when the first one's gotten easier with experience. Step 2, notice what your own pricing history is already telling you. This owner went from $200 to $600 to $800 over time. That's not random. That's confidence catching up to value one event at a time. Each time they charged more and the world didn't end, the next number became just a little bit easier to say. That's called mastery experience, the same mechanism behind any skill. You don't build confidence by thinking about doing something. You build it by doing it, then discovering that you survived. The fact that they're still calling $600 to $800 as maybe too cheap tells you that the climb isn't finished. Not because the math is wrong, but because the internal ceiling is still adjusting. Step 3, stop asking, is this fair? And start asking, is this honest? Honest means pricing reflects 6 years of experience, the cost of the equipment, the actual experience delivered, and the demand already proven by repeated positive feedback. The question was never whether $800 was fair when compared to other stargazing companies, because there barely are any. The question is whether 800 is honest about what the specific owner with a specific experience can actually provide. This owner asked for ideas, tips, and guidelines to help them feel more confident in their pricing. What they actually needed wasn't a guideline. It was permission they hadn't given to themselves yet. 6 years of doing this, nothing but positive feedback, a genuinely rare and specialized service, and still hesitating at 800. Still calling it maybe too cheap. Still explaining themselves before saying a number. That hesitation isn't telling you the number is wrong. It's telling you there's an older story underneath the pricing about what someone like you is allowed to ask for. So before the next video, say your number out loud to yourself before you say it to a client. Not the safe number, the honest one. Get used to how it sounds before someone else hears it. The number you're worth and the one you're willing to say are supposed to be the same number. And most of us are still closing that gap. If you're working through something similar in your own business and want a fresh set of eyes on it, link with me on my website so we can work it out together.